Hello, I'm Simon.
And I'm Dan.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article and we talk about what we find. Dan, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Simon, we are talking about Keisha Club.
Quiche Club?
Keisha Club.
How do you spell that?
Kisha.
Okay, right. What is Keisha Club, Dan?
A Keisha Club, or to give it its Japanese, Keisha Kurabu, or Reporters Club from the Japanese word Keisha, meaning reporter, is a Japanese news-gathering association of reporters from specific news organisations whose reporting centres on a press room set up by sources such as the Prime Minister's official residence, government ministries, local authorities, the police, or corporate bodies. In English, it's also called a press club.
So we had Nyotai Mori last week.
We did. With the wonderful Jeff Gord.
Yeah, and that episode, I don't know if you saw this, was flagged by YouTube for being too hot for YouTube, Dan.
Yeah, and rightly so.
It wasn't a strike. It was like a one-time warning from YouTube that was like, if you upload any content this arousing to YouTube again, you'll get a naughty man slap on the wrist, a strike against the channel.
Good lord.
So, yeah. And what was interesting was I thought that it was because I used the word nipple in the description. Mm-hmm. And I think that might have been part of it, but also it was the fact that we linked. I think it might have been the actual link to Jeff Gord.
Oh,
like
right.
it like came up with the reason you've been given this is because of this filthy link.
Yeah.
Which, we've learned our lesson. We must avoid smut at all costs in this podcast, and nothing but good wholesome content. So obviously the natural next step is to talk about press associations.
Indeed.
This sounds dull as Dan, I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, it does on the surface, but I think if we dive a little deeper, we can find some juicy things.
Let me strip down to my Speedos and cover myself in goose fat, Dan.
Yeah,
we're going
brilliant.
in.
We're going in. The article goes on to say, institutions with a Keisha club limit their press conferences to the journalists of that club, and membership rules for Keisha clubs are restrictive. This blocks access by domestic non-member media, such as magazines and smaller newspapers, and the foreign media, as well as freelance reporters, to the press conferences. While similar arrangements exist in other countries, the Japanese form of this type of organisation is seen as one of the most extreme, with journalists actively denying access to other journalists, which has led to the use of the Japanese term in other languages, often with a critical meaning.
Well, I'd never heard of this before.
No.
Yeah, it does sound kind of nuts.
Yeah.
You're just saying if you're not part of our club, you can't come in. You're not allowed to look at the news.
The most interesting thing is if you go, well, not the most interesting. I haven't consumed the entire article yet. But the first subsection, point 1 in the contents page, is history. Can you give a guess as to what the date might be? Given it's certainly more modern media in the sense of in sense of kind of like Japanese history, but. Have a guess.
So when was this club created?
Or the idea of such a club.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. I'm gonna drop some knowledge on you, Dan, because traditionally in Japan, mechanical type printing was not used until the West. Basically, the West was allowed in. And sort of Japan opened up to the world, which I want to say was very late 19th century. And at that point, mechanical type printers came in and displaced the woodblock print, which was the traditional way of doing things.
Sure.
So I'm going to guess the idea of this was like 1896.
The first date given is 1890.
Oh, so close!
Very fine. And it goes on to say, in response to the ban imposed by the First Imperial Diet on reporting by newspaper reporters, a reporter from the, Jiji Shinpo newspaper called together the Diet correspondents from the Tokyo newspapers to form a group of journalists visiting the Diet, which in October merged with the newspaper companies across Japan, changing its name to the Associated Newspaper Journalists Club, to become the first Keisha club. So that's 1890. And then it just you get more kind of spin-offs as you go through the kind of 20th century and into the 21st.
I have to admit, I had to just look up what you were saying by diet. Is it diet or is it diet?
It could be diet.
It's Japan's bicameral legislature, which of course means they have two camels.
Yes.
As a lawyer, I'm sure you know.
Yeah, well,
you know this.
naturally.
Yeah, okay, so this is the it's formally responsible for selecting the prime ministers. It's got a very nice flag. I've got to say, Japan does flags very well.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
it really does.
The prefectures all have really nice flags. The national flag is great. I've yet to see a bad Japanese flag. Let's just put it like that. But what I thought was interesting was when I Googled diet then to try and find out about, Japan, if you put diet into Google and the autocomplete comes up, for me at least, and I don't know if it's going to be the same for you, but for me at least, the top recommended thing is Diet Coke Chicken, Diet Coke Japan, and then Diet Supplement, Diet Plan. Diet Coke Chicken?
I have diet plan for weight loss, Diet Coke, Diet Pills, Diet Doctor.
Why have I got Diet Coke Chicken?
That's crazy.
I mean, what?
Diet Coke Chicken. I'm slightly scared by this.
Oh, I think it might be it's like a meal as part a pinch of nom. It's like a Weight Watchers type club. Hang on, I'm going to put it in quotation marks. That's something for those of you who don't know, but perhaps sound like a boomer here, but for those of you who don't know, there are various cool tricks you can do with Google to insist on certain things. Like if you put things in speech marks, not quotation marks, it will insist on the words being in that order. Also, if you put stuff in brackets, it will only look for stuff of that file type. So if you put like brackets PDF, you'll only get PDF results. Don't know if that's common knowledge or not, but there you go. That's your PSA.
I don't like the idea of Diet Cola chicken.
Do you think, are you thinking of a chicken that tastes like Diet Coke or a Diet Coke that tastes like chicken? Which would be worse?
Well, I know that you can cook or I guess it's kind of like brining, but you can do it with, like, in America, roast ham. You can do in Coke. You can do or you can make pulled pork using Coca-Cola as the kind of liquid that you cook it in. And I can kind of see it working with pork.
Okay, that was not where I thought you were going. I thought you were going to go on to talk about beer can chicken. Have you heard of beer can chicken before?
I have. I don't quite know why you're saying that meat product in a Jamaican accent.
Beer can chicken.
Yes, there we go.
If you go onto Google Images, Dan, and just search for beer can chicken, it's a wonderful display of what looks. I mean, it depends how filthy your mind is.
Oh yes.
The second thing I thought of was it looks like the chickens are giving birth to Budweiser cans.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know what this is, you basically you open a can of beer, and then you shove it into the remnants of the chicken's arse, and then you put it in the oven, and the idea is the beer evaporates and permeates the flesh of the chicken with the taste of beer. I was just wondering if Diet Coke chicken was the same thing but with Diet Coke, and how awful would that taste?
Yeah, weird. I suppose the benefit of doing a chicken like that is that it browns on all sides. There's no one side facing down. But it's kind of like, I mean, if you roast a chicken, you normally put, I don't know, half an orange or half a lemon in the cavity to kind of flavour it and steam it and things. So it's not unheard of, but I don't quite feel comfortable about beer going in it. Maybe it's the future. Maybe I ought to try it.
Apparently, it's very popular. Well, perhaps we're looking at this the wrong way. Maybe we should be making Diet Coke actually taste like a solid food. I mean, if you could design a soda, sorry, I said soda, very posh then. If you could design a soda. If you could design like a can of pop. Why can I not say refer to cans of carbonated drinks without sounding like Brian Sewell?
Yeah.
If you could design a fizzy carbonated beverage, Dan, to taste like a solid meal, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know. I've always been curious about if you made a Bovril drink, and then put it through a soda stream. What would that be like?
Oh God!
I imagine it would be really, really quite alarming.
But what if, I don't know, what if you could make a carbonated drink miraculously just tastes like bangers and mash. Like it's like really.
I'd be kind of into that because I've definitely got a savoury palate. Like if I go to a restaurant, I will most likely order a starter and a main rather than like a main and a dessert. I don't mind desserts, but I definitely have more of a savoury tooth.
You're wrong. You're wrong. You're not just wrong. You're ugly.
Okay.
No, like it's all about main. Well, really, it's all about starter, main, and dessert, Dan.
Well,
You know
yeah,
me.
of course.
But yeah, give me that sweet and sour. I definitely have a sweet palate. Also, Pixelgar had a go at me yesterday because I ate all of the kebab. Like we have this vegan kebab meat that we found. It's actually very good. But it was meant to be for two. I think it might have been meant for more than two people, if I'm honest, Dan. And I ate all of it. I had 4 kebabs yesterday for dinner.
I'm just going to very briefly try and... I'm recording... I'm at home in Oxfordshire, and there is a torrential downpour. And it's quite...
Dan Moore on the road.
It's quite loud, and it's probably going to be picked up in my audio.
Keep this in. I'm really enjoying this.
It's very ASMR. Can you hear it?
I can't hear it at all on my end.
Okay, it's probably gonna. Well, we'll see. Fergus will probably hear it. Apologies.
Can you paint a picture, Dan? Where are you right now?
Currently,
beer can chicken.
I'm currently sitting in. It's actually my brother's bedroom, which is toward the end of the house, and there's a part of the room that's got like a nice little desk set up and things, so I can kind of spread out. And I'm sitting under. There's kind of like skylights above me, on a kind of 45-degree angle. And I'm immediately below one of the skylights, and there is just rain, very, like, really quite intense downpour above me. It's very atmospheric, it's lovely, but I don't know whether the listeners will... Well, actually, they probably will like it.
Yeah, it's
kind of nice, isn't it, that rain, kind of ASMR-y
Oh my
vibe.
god, I'm just looking at the rainfall radar.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I don't know why they didn't call it the raindar, but there we go. And my god, that is a huge, whacking great big... front that's passing over you right now.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Which direction is it going? Am I going to cop it later? Yes, it would appear that I am in fact going to cop the same rain later.
Well,
that's a point though. Like, I wonder how many times has a single raindrop fallen on you? And what I mean by that is, how many times has that raindrop fallen on you, run off into the ocean, evaporated, formed a cloud, and then rained again? I'm sure that calculation is possible, probabilistically.
yeah.
It's probably not interesting to anyone other than me, but, you know. Because I was going to say, it's very romantic, Dan. We're going to get rained on by the same cloud, just at different, places. And then what if it was the same raindrop? I don't know. If anyone wants to try and calculate the probability of that, then do pop us an email, spongyelectric@gmail.com.
That really would genuinely be interesting.
You know what isn't interesting, Dan?
What?
Apparently, my latest video, because Jesus Christ, it's tanking.
It really isn't.
Which is quite surprising, because this is the one I did with Spiffing Brit. For those of you who don't know, I did a video, it'll be a couple of days ago, when this podcast comes out. I did a video with everyone's favourite exploit lord, Spiffing Brit. I think it's really good. I think that people should listen to it. And watch it, because it's a video. But yeah, I'm a little bit crushed by this one. I'm not going to lie to you. There we go.
I see. I don't think I've watched it yet.
Well, that's obviously why it's failing, Dan.
But I will. I will, of course.
You know, what of course would have stopped it from failing is if it was reported on by a Japanese press association.
Exactly.
Do you happen to know any?
I mean, there are so many. There are so many. I'd love to try and find a list. Here we go. Major Keisha clubs. We have the Kabuto Club.
Oh, I see. So there's not just one. It's not like Reuters or something. There are individual clubs.
There's loads of them, and they're all quite kind of elite. So I guess this is the kind of Japanese journalistic equivalent of like private members clubs in London. So it's at places like like the Athenaeum and the Savage and the
Oxford and Cambridge Club. And,
yeah, exactly. The East India and things. The Tokiwa Club, the Kasumi Club, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transportation Keisha Club, the Heavy Industries Research Club.
Oh.
I mean, we've just got, there's so many. The Bank of Japan Club. Only some of these have hyperlinks, and I guess that would kind of determine the size of them, but they're pretty cool.
I do really like doing this show, Dan, because every week it is a window into something that sometimes we do know about, like Poets' Corner we'd already known about, but
Yes.
like this, I don't think either of us knew anything about this.
Absolutely not.
And really, that's at the heart of the Wikicast. It's learning, Dan.
There's quite a funny bit here. So 2 further subsections are titled Advantages of Keisha Clubs and Disadvantages of Keisha Clubs. The advantages section is about a paragraph long, maybe, I don't know, 6 lines. The disadvantages is what looks like maybe 15 to 18 paragraphs.
Oh my God. You know who wrote that? A journalist who was not invited
Exactly.
to one of the clubs.
So disadvantages, the first paragraph begins, the Keisha clubs have been widely criticised, both in Japan and abroad, for encouraging an extreme type of access-driven journalism that undermines the quality of journalism in Japan by stifling criticism and turning reporters into mouthpieces for the institutions that they are supposed to cover. In one representative criticism, Jonathan Watts, the former Tokyo bureau chief for The Guardian, said Keisha clubs create a problem of watchdogs becoming lapdogs because the Keisha club system rewards self-censorship, fosters uniformity, and stifles competition. Golly.
Wow. I mean, I have to admit, like, just on the brief understanding we have from the Wikipedia article, like, it doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah, it does seem like, I mean, it's called the free press for a reason, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Although I challenge anyone to try and find an actual example of the free press at the moment. But anyway, this is not a
Noam
politics...
Chomsky has entered the chat.
Yeah, this is not a politics podcast. God, imagine if it was. What a mess.
God, let's not even entertain that thought,
No,
Dan.
no.
In fact, let's entertain your choral piece of the week.
And this will be my piece of the week. Drum roll, please. I was listening to an Easter playlist the other day because we are rapidly approaching that glorious time, and you'll know this one. It's not kind of, well, I don't want to be too harsh on it. It's not mind-blowingly brilliant, but it's from Ralph Vaughan Williams' 5 Mystical Songs.
Uh-huh.
And it's Easter.
Now, is this the one that's like Rise Up? I can't remember.
Rise, heart, thy Lord is risen.
Yeah, Rise Heart. The one that Peter Robinson used to do.
Yes.
Yes, it is that one.
It's just really nice. I love the mystical songs.
It's fine. I agree with you. It's not amazingly mind-blowing, but it does the job. It gets in, celebrates Easter, gets out. Doesn't pick at the finger food.
One of the choral scholars 2 years ago at Exeter Cathedral, JPT, did this as his last service. He was the soloist for this, and it was really brilliant. And the poem it's set to is lovely. The first paragraph is, Rise, heart, thy Lord is risen, sing his praise without delays, who takes thee by the hand, that thou likewise with him mayest rise, that as his death calcined thee to dust, his life may make thee gold, and much more just. It's just really, like, it's very, very kind of rich text. It's lovely.
I remember having to explain to people when I was doing the PhD, to like some of the other people in the college at the time, like how the text can make such a difference. Because I don't think people, they didn't understand that there was differences between like the new international version of the Bible, for example, and the King James Bible. And like explaining how much, because like for the example I gave was Handel's Messiah. Like the text from the King James Bible in that is just so wonderful compared to what you read in scripture in a modern Bible. And it really just adds so much. Like people, it's not just music, it is words and music.
Yeah, and words that are meant to be orated and heard rather than read, right?
Yes.
The purpose of the King James Bible was to be read to those who, well, couldn't read at the time.
Yeah.
So there you go, 5 mystical songs, Easter, Ralph Vaughan Williams. That is my choral piece of the week.
Bish bash bosh. Well, Dan, we find ourselves in Critics' Corner, and we have a couple of things that I'd like to talk about.
Sure.
Most of them actually relate to last night.
Ah, of course.
I thought you were wonderful, darling.
Yeah, thank you.
So last night was the first time that we streamed as what we started calling the back row, which is myself, Dan, Ed Dunn, and Hugo Wickman. So we all sang together at Exeter, and we were playing some Magicka 2, actually.
Yeah, which we haven't played for years.
Yeah, I forgot that we'd actually played 2 at all. And unfortunately, due to a quirk of the game, you can't rename a character once you've named it. So for the entire stream, I was called Ross Hornby, and you were Voldemort.
I was indeed.
Which is a very fine name, to be fair. But we had to cut the stream short very unexpectedly, because I'm delighted to say for the podcast that Pixel Girl has accepted a job offer in the West Country, in the sort of the Bristol Bath area. She was away doing interviews recently, and she actually was offered another job and turned it down because it wasn't right for her. And this school just really fit the bill. So she came in and because it was unexpected. That's the thing. We weren't expecting to hear yesterday, which is why I thought the streaming would be fine. But obviously, as soon as you get told something like that, you go off and you drink champagne and you spend time together. So sorry we cut our time short together, Dan, but also not sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely fantastic news. But I did say last night how wonderful that was, and it was nice to chat to Pixel Girl and actually kind of wish her well. But what fantastic news, and heralding a move.
Yes, that's the thing. We're going to be moving to back to the West Country, in my case. Well, I mean, she lived in Exeter, obviously. That's where we met. We're now looking at homes in the Bristol Bath area. And I've got to say, I'm a big fan of house hunting, Dan. It's really, really fun.
Yeah, I bet.
Going on Rightmove. Because I think the thing is, once you have a goal in mind, it's not, you can't go on Rightmove and I wonder what's on Rightmove today. You have to be we're looking for houses specifically in this town with this budget with this many bedrooms, and then it's a manageable number. But it turns out I'm a nosy bastard, Dan. It's have you ever done this?
Oh, I do it all the time.
Really?
Yeah, all the time.
Because we obviously looked for the house that we lived in together. We looked at a couple of properties prior,
yes,
to settling on that one, and that was a fun experience because
it was.
You get to nose around.
Yeah, and you start kind of thinking about very, on the surface, unimportant, unexciting aspects of a house that when you're thinking, hang on, I'm going to be living here, they're really exciting. So there's an extra. There's a built-in wardrobe in the master bedroom. Oh, what a joy! Really kind of, you're suddenly excited by the most menial of things.
I mean, we've the thing that I have noticed a trend that can absolutely get in the sea, and that is, I'm ashamed to say, Dan, that the world has far too many enormous f***ing clocks.
Yeah.
Every time we go and look on, Rightmove is our site. I used to be a Zoopla kind of guy, but I don't know why. But Pixel Girl has now moved me over to Rightmove. Every time.
Should we say, is this the time in the podcast to announce that we're thrilled to say that this episode is sponsored by
Rightmove?
Yeah. Can you imagine?
I mean, how would you even do an integration? Sorry, the business part of my brain has immediately kicked in. How would you even do an integration for Rightmove?
I've no idea. Make the right move with Rightmove.
I think I have seen them sponsor content, though. I just don't.
Maybe we should reach out.
When we move house, it would be a nice little tidy, put it in the back pocket, get paid money to move house. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Rightmove, if you're listening, Mr. Rightmove. I do genuinely mean that. I have noticed that going through lots of different houses, there's this trend of people having clocks that are 3 feet wide on their wall. And it's why? What are you doing?
Usually next to a big live, laugh, love.
Laugh, love.
Yeah.
Or it'd be it's like a memento mori. These things that you see in cathedrals and in Gothic architecture, not Gothic, Victorian architecture, reminding you that death is coming. When I see big clocks, that's just it's a way of saying you're probably going to be late, or your next thing is at this time. It's quantifying time in a way that I find intensely stressful. I don't like it, and I don't know why people insist on having them in all of these houses. Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest.
Crazy.
It's like it's like a crap version of the Anthropocene Reviewed. I give giant clocks 1 star.
Yeah.
But yes, I just wanted to sort of in this section review the fact that I'm going to actually no, I was going to review sort of the news and I was going to review giant clocks, but I also just want to give a critique of Pixel Girl. Because she's wonderful. She is immensely talented. And there's one! I'm looking at a house right now. There's an enormous clock.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you need to know the time in, like, 4K?
Madness.
My fiancée is wonderful. I adore her. And I am very excited to be buying a house and starting a new life together. Funnily enough, it may end up being very close to where I grew up. When I was but a wee bairn.
Wow.
I am kind of moving back to within like a couple of mile radius from where my parents live, probably, which is not where I thought life would go.
Lovely part of the world.
It is, and that's the thing. Like, I feel I went for a walk this morning, and I was thinking to myself about how I think I always thought that moving back close to parents was something of a failure because it's like you've not branched out and done your own thing, and perhaps that is a little bit true, but also like I've lived in Bath, I've lived in Keynsham, which is near Bath, I've lived in Exeter, I've lived in Oxford, I've visited so many parts of this country, and I've never found anywhere that I've liked as much as sort of the Bristol Bath area. It's just it's really nice.
Yeah.
Bristol, in particular, has like a unique kind of feel to it, like a unique culture, which I really rate. And I don't know.
It certainly has a unique feel and culture at the moment. If we're looking at what's been happening in the press recently, but I totally agree. I think there's something incredibly timeless about the Southwest. It's a slightly slower pace of life, but not so slow as I adore Cornwall, but I don't think I could live in Cornwall. Having the connections that you have in that kind of Devon, Somerset area, it's just wonderful.
So yeah, my review of the West Country is 5 stars. My review of Pixel Girl is 6 stars on a 5-star scale.
Brilliant.
And giant clocks can get in the bin. Do you want to critique anything, Dan?
I don't have anything quite as poignant to review. But as part of my my kind of like Apple subscription to various things, I get Apple TV Plus. And I've seen trailers and things for Ted Lasso everywhere. Have you come across Ted Lasso?
No. Is this some joke that I'm too Android to understand?
It's no, it's an Apple original. And the premise is there's this chap called Ted Lasso, and he is a American football coach.
I've heard about this.
Yeah, he's had a bit of success, and then he comes over to the UK to manage an English like Premier League team that's not doing super well, and it's just very easy watching. I think it's brilliant, actually. I really, really like it. I binge watched all of the first season over the course of about 2 days, and I think there's about 9 or 10 episodes. But it's just really kind of nice, wholesome viewing, and there's some very funny kind of cross-cultural kind of comparisons and observations about how Americans do things and how the British do things. And obviously there's such the English football culture is so enormous and quite crude. And this guy I think he's from somewhere like Kansas or some Texan kind of, he's quite a country bumpkin,
right,
in the American sense, and he's just very friendly and chipper and optimistic, and obviously that kind of personality coming into English Premier League, you'll have like a whole stadium of footballers chanting his nickname becomes Wanker, and it's really good. It's really, really good. I don't know whether, I think the only way to watch it is Apple TV Plus, frustratingly, but I urge people, I think even if you don't have it, you can watch the first episode as like a trial.
Oh, really? Okay.
I encourage you to do so because I think it's brilliant. I think it's really lovely. It stars Jason Sudeikis.
Yes, yeah.
who is just quite an endearing presence anyway. But it's just really good. And I think in the first week that it premiered, yeah, here we go. The series premiered with the first 3 episodes on Apple TV Plus on August 14th, 2020, and was renewed for a second season consisting of 12 episodes 5 days after its premiere. In October that same year, the series was renewed for a third season. And the critical response has been kind of overwhelmingly positive.
Because the other thing I've been recommended to watch on Apple TV is For All Mankind.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I think it's basically like, what if the Soviets got to the moon first? Type. I think I'm not sure if it's alternative history, but Koyan on the Discord has been constantly badgering me to watch it, and apparently it's good.
There's some good stuff. I mean, I really enjoyed. I don't know if you watched this. It's quite an old series now, but there was The Long Way Round, with Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman, and
possibly my favorite TV series of all time.
It's brilliant, right? It's brilliant.
It's so good.
So they did The Long Way Round, then they did The Long Way Down, riding from John O'Groats to Cape Town. So John O'Groats in Scotland, Cape Town, South Africa, and then they did an Apple original, which was The Long Way Up. And they did from the southern tip of South America to like Los Angeles or something. But they did those they were on
electric bikes,
electric Harley Davidsons.
I was able to watch that one. I can't remember how we did that actually because it was on Apple TV. Maybe that was Pixel Girls. Does she have a? I'm gonna have to talk to her about that.
Yeah.
So we did watch that, and that was great. Also, I didn't realise that Ewan McGregor's dating Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Oh, really?
Who's the Ramona Flowers from Scott Pilgrim.
Whoa.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
It is crazy.
I mean, it makes total sense. They're like two of the most beautiful human beings on the planet.
Yeah.
And one's Obi-Wan Kenobi. So.
And because he's the new Obi-Wan Kenobi film is not far away, is it really?
Is it a film or is it a show? I thought it was a show.
It might be a TV series.
I mean, considering the success of The Mandalorian, I wouldn't be surprised if Disney goes full in on that format.
Yes, it's going to be a series.
The other thing which actually I'd like to just interject here with is Pixel Girl and I devoured a season of something on Netflix. I've spoken about this before. Last Chance U, which was a series all about these kids playing at junior college level in America, playing American football. And the idea is that they are incredibly talented kids who've had behavioural issues somewhere else, or their grades weren't good enough to get access to what's called a Division 1 college. So basically like a really good university with a good football program. And it follows them for a season of them trying to get play time and trying to get picked up by agents and, trying to make amends. And it's great TV. Start with season 3. Season 3 and season 4 are good. But they just did a new series, which is about basketball. So exactly the same format, but about basketball instead in East Los Angeles. And it's one of the best seasons of TV we've ever watched. We got so into it. And we know nothing about basketball, but watching it, we were really enjoying watching the games and learning. Obviously, you can't pick up very much because it's not, arguably, the show isn't really about basketball. It's about the kids. But learning a little bit about the sport. And I don't know if I've ever been so invested in a team as I was in their final game in the series. Hard recommend. There's a really endearing episode where they take all of these kids who are from East LA, and they basically take them out into the mountains to like it's like a mountain retreat in a cabin, and it's the most wholesome content of these kids from like really rough urban neighborhoods, trying to do puzzles together or going out on nature walks and like just having really like having like DMCs, and it's really wholesome. A hard recommend from me.
See, I've been watching too. I've been getting into Narcos.
Oh yes, that's meant to be really good.
Fantastic! I can't believe it's taken me this long to watch it. It's kind of like I delayed watching Mad Men for so long, and then watched that, and I think I've watched the entire like collection of seasons at least twice. It's just brilliant. Narcos I've been watching, and The Expanse on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah, well I need to get
really
back into The Expanse.
I've just gone into the second season.
Right, so what I've been told is that I think it's the second season, perhaps going into the third season, it gets a bit weird. And basically it becomes less hard sci-fi, if you know what I mean. Like there's more kind of fantastical elements in it, but apparently I think it's the end of the season 3 and going into season 4 it goes back to being very grounded, very hard sci-fi, which is what I liked. Like season 1 is very, interplanetary diplomacy, trying to avoid a war, and like it's really grounded, and I loved it. And then it just kind of lost its way. But apparently, you need to stick out the next bit, Dan, where it goes a bit fantasy.
Okay.
And you might enjoy it. I don't know, but for me, it wasn't quite what I was after.
Fair enough.
Is that the end of the section? Top lad.
So, as regular listeners will know, it's that time again where we move over to Patreon Corner, where we say an enormous thank you to those who support the podcast and make it all possible. Thank you so much for your support. If we didn't have such generous souls as yourselves, this podcast wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be able to pay our glorious new editor.
100 souls.
Indeed. We wouldn't be able to host this podcast. Well, have we actually ever thanked Podbean?
No.
We probably should do that.
Thanks, Mr. Podbean.
Thanks, Mr. Podbean, for...
What's that? You're afraid of getting wet.
That's also one of my favourite quotes from those films is when Barbossa turns around.
When girls don't want to see my Warhammer collection.
Yeah.
What's that?
I like I'm a little bit busy at the moment.
Yeah. He's just chewing the scenery, isn't he?
Yeah, Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey Rush. He's just having a great time.
I've met Jeffrey Rush.
Really?
Yeah, he used to live round the corner from me in Australia, and every now and then my drama class, because I did IB theatre as one of my electives, and we went to go and see a performance at the Victorian, I think it was the VCA, Victoria Centre of the Arts in Melbourne, and he was at one of the viewings. It was, I think we were going to see might have been Chekhov. Who wrote The Cherry Orchard? I think it was Chekhov.
That sounds like a Dan question. I don't know.
Cherry Orchard. Anton Chekhov, yeah.
Boom. Under
Knowledge.
the gun.
But yes, Patreon corner. what a segue. You can support this podcast if you would like by heading over to patreon.com/the Wikicast. And you have two options. You can either be a top dog, the clear and obvious winner, or a top cat. And it is my great pleasure to thank our top dogs. So without further ado, thank you to Ben Caples, Josh, Shiaja, Henry VII, King of England and of France, Lord of Ireland, Aaron Curry, Augustin, Adrian Chan, Naf Laroch, Hasse Hansen, Aaron Jorgensen, Remnar, Lexi at Front Desk, Eve Sharples, Alistair Fortune, Peter Reed, Maggie, Colin J. Brown, Codzo, Ben McMurtry, Jay Wright, and Eric Bolliger. Thank you so much.
I would like to thank the very kind souls who support us at patreon.com/the Wikicast and keep Jasmine ensconced in treats. Of course, I'm talking about the top cat patrons. I'd like to thank Elliot Conway, Oliver, Violet Hatch, Abu El Ella, the Physics Boy, Simon P, Jack Easton, Izzy Christie, Tom Withington, Nafi Iftikhar, Christopher Betterton, Marcin Kozda, Dame Valerie III, River Ward, Layla Medina, Oliver Craigie, Will Janice Humphreys, Rents Kirk, Oliver Burkhart, Omar Miranda, Cole Mansfield, Princess Andromeda, Chocker, Cat Bendant, Isabella Strowski, Matt McGuire, and Daniel Han V. Thank you very much, guys. Did you like the non-looping music, Adam? I instructed Fergus to specifically include the non-looping version because it pisses you off.
Bless.
Top lad. Oh yeah, here we go. Your content violated YouTube's community guidelines has been removed. Our team has reviewed your content, and unfortunately, we think it violates our sex and nudity policy. We've removed the following content from YouTube. But it hasn't been. It's still up. What the hell?
So weird.
But how is this broken so badly that you not only incorrectly flagged our video, but then said you'd delete it, and then didn't?
thrilled to say we have another instalment in the fine narrative experience provided by Benjamin Ashton, Schmashton. Sean Connery there, just making a brief appearance.
A book fell on my head. I can only blame my
Blame
shelf.
myself. Very good. What's his favourite sport to play at the weekend?
Only in the mornings. Tennis.
Tennis. And at what time? Well, tennis. Benjamin goes on to say, Dear Messrs Clark and Moore, firstly for Simon's benefit, I am from Yorkshire but studying in Newcastle. If he ever tries that Geordie accent again, he will become a persona non grata. As for the next piece of my work, I wasn't sure how much is too much. I've gone for 3 pages, but a lot happens in this chapter. It might be worth reading it off the podcast, but prep for it. But that isn't the Wikicast way, so wing it at your own risk.
We're going in dry, Ben.
Yeah. Might give myself a hard cap at 2 pages to keep it readable, but let me know. Hope you enjoy. Kind regards, Ben. Right. Chapter 2, Simon.
Oh God, there's a lot here. Fortunately we haven't had other emails this week, so we can devote lots of time to this. But I would encourage people to please email in at spongyelectric@gmail.com. You could pick apart any number of things that we've said this episode, so please just vomit onto a keyboard and we'll read it out. Right, so Chapter 2, Dan, the hero. M41885. Should we do this as last time, by the way, so you read your lines and I'll read mine?
Sure.
Okay. The advance was a slow and ponderous thing. The entire regiment moved carefully through the matted foliage and vaulted massive routes that were ubiquitous in the hellscape they traversed. Simon and Dan had both drawn the short straw. They were at the front of the advance and would be the first to take contact. Sorry. Cut that one out, Fergus.
What is this new devilry? A Balrog. A demon of the ancient world. His foe is beyond any. Run!
That's lovely.
I knew I should have water instead of Coke for this. Both were nervous, and they checked frequently to see if they could see the other squads to their far right and far left. They heard other squads making contact elsewhere regularly, but saw nothing. The rain had stopped, mercifully, but now there was a stench. Sorry. Some men had taken to using rags to cover their faces, the very best they could muster under the circumstances, but it did them little good. The smell of swampy decomposition was pervasive. It was a sweet and sickly smell, born from the tons of plant matter that fell to the ground daily. Dan had not wanted to think what would happen to a human body if it were let here. It would take mere days to be wiped from the galaxy. He muttered a benediction to the Emperor under his breath to ease his mind. Did I do my voice, or did I do a stupid voice for me last time?
I think you just did your voice.
Ah, okay.
But you can do what you like. I mean, this podcast has no rules, as we've established over years, so it's fine.
Yeah, this is very true. I heard the commissar died. Sorry, Simon kept his voice low. But even so, the exclamation in his voice was evident. Dan's head snapped sideways towards the Simon. I think that's a typo.
What? When?
There was a sense of disbelief in his voice.
That's rubbish, surely. Another rumour spread by the Munitorium staff with nothing better to do.
A crux fly, so they say. Bit him in his sleep. Managed to get past his fly netting.
This is very zug-zug.
Zug-zug.
They kept moving forwards as they spoke, weaving between small shrubs and trees. I didn't realise you were so talented with cloth, Daniel.
Thank you.
The huge trees were usually avoided. Some dripped an alkaline sap which burnt the skin. His replacement has already arrived, meant for one of those noble regiments on the other continents. Got stuck with us instead.
Where the hell did you hear this?
Dan finally offered. Some of the regiment command staff were talking about it when I went to get our food this morning.
Well, can't be any worse than the old one. May his soul rest at the right hand of the Emperor.
Oh no, this is in all caps, Dan. Give me 1 second. I need to prepare for this. I'll be back in just 2 secs.
One eternity later.
Right. Okay. I have acquired an appropriate prop.
Prop, yeah. Golly, it's like theatre. We've gone from the Cherry Orchard by Anton Chekhov to this. It's brilliant.
Shut up! Noise discipline!
Sergeant Pelax had come up from behind them and scolded them with a high whisper.
We both need to say this line. Shall we do like it's the end of the podcast?
Sure, okay.
Sorry,
Sarge.
Sarge.
The two returned clearly, perfectly in synchronization.
Yeah, brilliant.
Get moving. We're nearly there.
He exclusively talks for a bullhorn, by the way.
Yeah.
Sergeant Pelax was a bull of a man, his muscles honed from years of experience as a PDF infantry instructor set
His
against...
experience as a PDF.
Yeah.
He's a digital being.
It looks like you're trying to invade a planet.
Yeah.
as his experience as a Word doc.
Yeah.
Set against a square face that sported his signature pissed-off look. It's probably because he's got a foghorn for a mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst he was being a pain to the squad as a... What? Whilst he was a pain to the squad as a by-the-rules man. Ah, right, I get you. He was well respected. In this instance...
Sorry. Can you say that sentence once more? Because I don't think it'll be... As a by-the-rules man. It doesn't really work, does it?
That's right. Okay, let's keep all this in, Fergus.
I think your intonation your intonation can be slightly more generous.
You're the acting coach that comes in. It's like, could you give a bit more feel to the line?
Yeah.
Right. Whilst he was a pain to the squad as a by-the-rules man, he was well respected.
Perfect.
In this instance, thank you, Coach, Dan and Simon knew they had annoyed him, not only by the look on his face, but rather by the expectation that they had failed to meet. They set off forwards again. The Emperor had clearly been watching them, as their advance had been without incidents. Pelax had been right.
I told you so.
Oh, there he is. Golly.
There he is.
Pelax.
Pelax?
I think you also work in a fast food restaurant in your free time. Is that right?
What would you like, sir?
Hi, yeah. I would. I'd like the large cheeseburger.
Hold on.
And a small side of chips.
Yeah, that's cool.
And a large Coke.
Alright.
Could you repeat those back to me, please?
So, you got a large hot dog, 2 pita breads, and a small salmon.
So, sorry, a large hot dog and a small salmon.
That'll be $20.
Sorry, I don't think you've got the
Try free to
order.
the next window, please, sir.
Oh, I love that
This
so much.
This thing was the best investment I ever made.
Honestly, I'm so jealous. I would just sit in my house when I'm meant to be like studying law, just speaking to myself.
The thing is, there are like a bunch of guys who are working on a building site not too far from the house, and I'm very inclined to just like open the window and be like,
You, get back to work.
shut the door
Fantastic.
like really quickly. Oh god, my neighbours love me. Right, here we go. So where did we get to? I love that his first line was in a high whisper and talked about noise discipline. Pelax had been right. It had not been more than 5 minutes before they had reached the apparent end of the jungle. It bizarrely just kind of stopped. In the clearing ahead sat a city, a dirty, ruined one, but a city nonetheless. Charred stumps and scorched land extended outwards from the edge of the city to where they were now. Simon and Dan both hesitated, not quite sure what to do. The rest of the squad had kept only 20 metres or so behind, and it was not long before everyone was milling at the edge of the clearing. They burnt it. I didn't think the enemy had flamers, Simon asked. There was a sense of confusion in his question. A realization hit him like a brick wall, that the enemy they had to fight was quite a lot more deadly than he had thought.
No, this wasn't burnt with fire.
Fantastic. He's just so done. He's checked out.
No, this wasn't burnt with fire, you idiot.
Pelax was kneeling and picking at what looked to be a small plant. It disintegrated and settled into a pile of ash.
Acid.
He murmured. Did you put your name into the goblet of fire? Pelax asked quietly.
Yeah.
This was done with acid.
In the sorry, this is the dumbest thing we've ever put on this podcast.
Brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it.
In the far distance, the artillery that had kept both Simon and Dan awake the night before, woof, started again. Oh god. Oh no.
Right, take cover and stand by for the enemy. You will fire on repetition once they reach 150 meters, and then go to full auto within 50 meters. If you're going to pray, Now is the time.
Pelax is the most done official.
Yeah, I think Pelax is going to go down in Wikicast history. This is, readers, you are witnessing a truly historic moment.
I'm looking at my waveform and it is it's so loud. Fergus, I apologise for this. I really hope it's not unlistenable. Right. It's also on like a very low setting. I'm trying to do my best here. Simon and Dan took their place behind one of the giant roots. Both checked their breeches and magazines and then whispered their prayers to the Emperor. The artillery shells finally started to land on the city in front of them. A few, worryingly, fell short. But otherwise, the bombardment did its grisly work. It kicked up the hornet's nest. Oh god. Oh, I knew this was coming. There was a heavy, pregnant pause. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 15 seconds. It was not until 20 seconds had passed that they first heard the skittering. It was a gentle thing at first, utterly devoid of the sheer horror that created it, but it grew until it shook the very earth. Then the duo saw them. Each was a thunderous Sorry, I'll do that again. Each was a thunderous maw of teeth.
Thunderous
Thunderous Ma. Ma! Get in here, Ma! Why have you got so many teeth, Ma? Each was a thunderous maw of teeth. That's you. Chitin, malice, and more teeth. Like something from the realms of the ruinous powers. Both Simon and Dan murmured, "Holy Throne," under their breath as they sighted their rifles. The paces they made were inhuman, and they bounded across the open ground towards the edge of the jungle.
Are you saying that they came bounding over?
They came bounding. I'm not putting that one through the foghorn.
No.
The regiment waited as ordered until the beasts at last made their way into the 150-metre mark. The fusillade began. At the sight of the massed las rounds, the duo felt their resolve strengthen. The bloody work of the day had begun. At first, the fire seemed to make little difference. The beasts kept coming. However, after the first few salvos, they seemed to finally take the hint, as several seemingly died. But they kept coming. This was not an assault from soldiers. This was something far more feral, more insidious. None seemed to notice the dead. They came on regardless. They were close. Both Simon and Dan had switched to full auto with their rifles, and with the rest of their squad, they hosed the last few life forms. The final lucky one made it to just short of the jungle edge, and Pelax steadily went forward, his bayonet fixed, watching for any slight twitch. He violently lunged forwards and skewered it to be sure. Everyone sighed. So, this is a tyrannid? I thought they'd be more dangerous, Simon asked quizzically. Dan clearly shared Simon's bemusement. Yeah, they don't even have guns. Oh, sorry. That's your...
Oh, God. Come on.
It's amateur hour here.
Bloody amateur hour here. Sorry, can I have my
Get off the stage.
can I have my cue again, please?
Sorry. Line. Dan clearly shared Simon's bemusement.
Yeah, they don't even have guns or anything, just claws.
There was clearly an air of satisfaction in the group, and the elation was evident.
They say this is a splinter.
Sorry, I've got to sound it. Can I get a bit more despondency from people?
They say this is a splinter. It's weaker somehow, cut off from its kin. They called it Nostromo in the briefings, whatever that means.
He's so done.
He's just so done. It's just brilliant. Imagining like a sergeant major figure who's just like, this is more than my f***ing job's worth.
Yeah.
Like,
this is above my pay grade. Like, you chuckle f***s.
Yeah.
Pelax finally interrupted.
Reload and make ready. They'll ask us to move in eventually.
Simon and Dad both did. I definitely said Dad.
Yeah, you did.
Simon. Oh, come on, we've had Ma. Come on, Pa. Simon and Dan both did as ordered. That was easier than I thought. Our first combat. Dan, oh for sake!
You got to read ahead, my friend. This is Script 101.
It's almost like we should have prepped. If only you
Yeah.
warned us.
Yeah.
Smashton, why didn't you warn us about this?
Line.
Simon and Dad.
Fantastic.
Oh God. Simon and Dan both did as ordered.
That was easier than I thought. Our first combat.
Dan offered. Like the rest of the squad, he had a smile on his face.
I'm not sure. I expected more.
Whilst the squad congratulated itself, in the distance, skittering started again. The elation vanished, and Pilax ordered them into their position again. The fear returned. Never should have said anything, Dan, Simon grimaced. His words were forced through gritted... Sorry, let me do that again. Never should have said anything, Dan, Simon grimaced. His words were forced through gritted teeth. I like, the stage directions are more like guidelines.
Yeah.
They're like the pirate's code.
Guidelines. Parlay.
You best start believing in Warhammer Fantasy stories, Simon.
You're in one.
This time, however, the Tyranids were different. Almost immediately, globs of bioacid started to pepper the jungle, and Simon could feel something change in the air. Something very dark, like something clawing at his brain, a scraping on the inside of his skull. The massed rifles fired again, the light blue beams trying to find their mark. This time it was more desperate. There were far more of the creatures, and they came as fast as before. One of the bioacid shots hit one of their number. He fell screaming in agony.
Grenades!
Pilax screamed. Simon and Dan complied, and both threw as best they could. They were both poor at throwing, but it didn't matter. The grenades had the desired effect.
I like to think that as he says, as Pilax says grenades there, it's like somebody on like a country walk remarking on like a murmuration of birds. He's just kind of like,
Oh, look at that, grenades!
grenades, yeah.
Right, as the next few fell at the front, something unexpected happened. The monsters started going around the squad, like a teardrop barrier was stopping them and forcing them away. This was unnerving. It wasn't apparent for what felt like an age. Eventually, a much larger thing stood up. It was quite a lot larger than the other smaller beasts, perhaps 3 times as big, and along with its massive claws, it also had some kind of cannon. It strode forwards on its powerful legs and completely disintegrated one of the squad's number with its cannon. Whilst the rest of the squad, including Simon and Dan, emptied their magazines as fast as they could at it.
Emptied their bowels with fear.
Pilax realised the peril and ran forward, his bayonet fixed. Once close, he launched himself forwards using his rifle as a spear. The impact was solid, and a very loud, audible crack was heard. But this just angered the creature, and its giant claws skewered poor Pilax.
Oh, God's sake.
Simon tore his eyes to look at Dan. Fear had overcome them both as they both fumbled their reloads and lines. 2 things happened at this point. No, sorry. 2 things happened at his point, almost as if the Emperor himself was watching. As the squad panicked and began to rout, Pilax had his last laugh. The grenade pin he was clutching fell to the ground, and the cracked grenade he had been holding exploded, ripping large chunks of chitin from the body of the warrior. Then, an angel entered the fray. At least, she looked like an angel to Simon. Dan saw a commissar, the gleaming tip of her crackling power sword pointed at the foe in their midst, firing bolt rounds as she charged. As Pilax's broken form hit the ground, she started where he had finished, slashing at its claws and firing bolt rounds from her pistol when she could. This dance of death went on for maybe 20 seconds until the commissar managed to plunge her sword into one of the wounds left by Pilax's grenade. The beast shuddered and screamed, then with a deluge of ichor and a mighty thump, died. Oh no.
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
No dejes que el extranjero... Oh, Jesus. No dejes que el extranjero viva! She screamed as she wrenched her power sword from the carcass. With their leader gone, the rest of the Tyranid force seemed to lose their spirit, if they had a spirit to begin with. In the aftermath, Simon, Dan, and the rest of the squad sifted through the bodies, bayoneting them all. Is that, like, our friends as well?
Yes.
Stab the friends just to make sure they're dead. Until they managed to get a chance to speak to their saviour. Who are you, Mom? The new commissar? Simon asked, looking her up and down. She did not seem the saviour he had envisioned in the middle of the battle. This is the 36th Exeterian Fusiliers? She asked. Can you tell it's a woman? Dan and Simon nodded. I am Commissar Pixels, to be attached to the 4th Battalion. Your man was incredibly brave. She nodded in the direction of Pelax.
Did you just squeak?
No, that was my chair.
I thought it was you.
He was incredibly brave.
It was a bit of an ooh-woo.
Notices a commissar wommissar. He will certainly be at the right hand of the Emperor. He has served you all. I don't know why she has a Spanish accent.
Yeah,
Sorry.
can you also in that voice say he's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy?
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
Yeah, okay, brilliant.
So that's the life of Brienne.
Yeah. Brienne of Tarth.
La Biba de Brian. Simon and Dan both nodded in agreement. Right, I need to find the 4th Battalion, she asked expectantly of the pair.
I'm sorry, Mom. You must be confused. This is the 4th Battalion.
Dan answered. Well then, carry on, troopers. She strode away, leaving Simon and Dan with bemused looks on their faces. And here ends the lesson.
Yeah, wow.
That was a ride.
The choir will now sing the Magnificat.
Sorry, it's actually if the Verger had that voice. The choir will now sing the Magnificat.
And our mouths shall show forth thy praise.
No, we found the secret to seraphic fire, Dan.
Oh, really?
Oh Lord, open thou our ears!
Brilliant.
Oh, that or the god, what was it? Wells Cathedral, the reediest, weakest sounding cantor. It was like the Leighton responses. Do you remember this?
I think so. Yeah, I don't think it was Wells. I think it was.
It was like, "Oh Lord, open thou our lips."
Yeah. Oh Lord. Very nasal.
I'm definitely going to get an angry knock on the door after this one.
I think Benjamin absolutely nailed that. That chapter 2 was superb.
Yeah, that kept everyone on the edge of their seat. They didn't know when we were going to mess up our lines next. Thank you, Smashton. It's quite something to be on the receiving end of the Tyranids of High Fleet Nostromo for once.
Really?
But well, with that, Dan, that's the end of the episode. So I have to ask you, what have we learned today?
Today, Simon, we've learnt about the Keisha Club.
Oh yes, yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
Or Kisha Kurabu Reporters Club, the Japanese institution.
With a few advantages and a truckload of disadvantages.
Yes. We also spoke about Ted Lasso. We had a choral piece of the week in the form of Easter from Vaughan Williams' 5 Mystical Songs.
I reviewed my fiancée and determined that she was 6 out of 5 and incredibly proud of her for getting this new job and are excited to move this summer.
Brilliant. Which means we'll be closer together. It'll be easier to do little
Much
collabs.
easier.
Amazing.
Yeah, much easier.
What fun.
I'm looking forward to that bit, I have to admit. And also we finished off the episode with it was certainly a unique event in Wikicast history. I can tell when it started because I'm looking at my waveform. And there are just blocks in there. I am so sorry, listeners, if that was unlistenable. Well, that's all for this. Oh, my God.
Are you having a stroke?
I don't know what's wrong with me today. I really don't.
It's honestly, it's genuinely incredible how much you can't speak today. It's brilliant.
I live on my own, Dan, most of the time, you know?
It's like your tongue is like 5 or 10 seconds ahead of your brain.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an unfair description of how I feel like I spend most of my time.
Oh, I love it. Man, it's so great. Go on, keep
Without
going.
any further ado, that's all for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice, join the Discord, and if you'd like to see our faces, and quite possibly our abysmal Magicka plays, check out our YouTube channel, Spongy and Electric.
Your own fan fiction, congratulations to Pixel Girl, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole,
And we'll see you next time.
I didn't think this episode had legs to begin with, but my God, did it grow them.
Yeah, much like the Tyranids.
Yes, it's a
those
Chernobyl
legs are
episode.
Multitudinous.